body that held my leash. At the thought, Reshaye slithered through the back of my mind. Even that small movement was enough to make me tense. I glanced down, looking for a clear path. Cyril was snoring softly on one side of me, and even now, more than a week later, when I looked at him, I felt a strange pang of disbelief in my chest. Every so often I had to resist the urge to grab him just to make sure he was real. I had long ago stopped believing in the gods. I already lived my life under the control of so many mortal men. It brought me no comfort to think of immortal ones pulling the strings too. But if there was anything that had ever felt like divine intervention, it was that my friend was beside me again. The bedroll on my other side was empty. I tiptoed over sleeping bodies and crept up creaking wooden stairs. A wall of cold air greeted me on deck, the sky opening up above me like a velvet blanket. I half stumbled to the rail and leaned over. A blast of wind chilled the sweat on my skin, but my heart was still racing. "It was a dream," I whispered to Reshaye. "You are safe. It is not real." A hiss, caressing my thoughts. "It is always real, in one way or another. This world or the next, here or what lies beneath." A lungless breath made goosebumps rise on the back of my neck, and I could feel Reshaye's disquiet, its fear, as my eyes lifted over the horizon. "Something." My gaze lingered at the seam between worlds where the sky met the sea. Reshaye's interest pulled there, reaching out into the distance, yearning, searching. I leaned further over the rail. I didn't even know what I was looking for, but it was like something was pulling me forward, something that, if I could just get far enough, I would be able to see. A hand yanked me away. I stumbled, letting out a small grunt as my back hit a familiar form and a set of arms wrapped around me. "Too cold for swimming," a voice murmured, so close to the crest of my ear that goosebumps of an entirely different kind raised on my skin. It was punctuated by an agonizingly brief brush of lips. Reshaye wordlessly slunk to the back of my mind. I was not going to fall. "I'd rather not risk it. If I recall correctly, you're not a terrific swimmer." Psh! I ran my finger along my captor's ribs, and just like I knew he would, he let out a poorly stifled laugh and released me. I turned to see Max giving me a terse half-smile that looked as if it were trying to be annoyed and failing. Left side first, of course. It was the kind of smile I returned without thinking. "You abuse the power I've entrusted to you by exploiting my weaknesses like that," he said. I shrugged. I cannot be expected to resist all temptations. We'd spent a week in constant, agonizing proximity, but had barely touched each other. We had no privacy, after all, for anything more, though I'd never admit aloud the embarrassing amount of time my mind now spent thinking of all the things we'd do once we did. My ear still throbbed with warmth. I gave him a sly smirk, ready for another retort, but his gaze had turned serious and concerned. "Nightmares?" he said quietly. "They feel very real." "They do." Of course Max, of all people, would know. He extended his hand, and I arched my eyebrows. "What?" He scoffed. "Please, Tisaanah." There was a part of me that didn't want to show him. Didn't want to give him yet another thing to worry about, especially not when I knew how much he was giving up to be here with me. I laid my hand in his, palm up, and together we looked down at it. The veins of my wrist and forearm, once barely visible beneath the pale patches of my albino skin, had darkened nearly to black. Max's brow knitted. "There is already so much about Reshaye that we do not understand," I murmured. "Perhaps this will just be another strange unknown." "I don't like unknowns." I almost laughed. Too bad, because we're surrounded by...